Josh asked a good question. What are your thoughts on the church not speaking out and pushing back on the LGBTQ community and how they're pushing their agenda? Why do you think the church is hesitant to speak against what is evil? I don't know. Well, first of all, I mean, the church that's such a broad statement, right, Josh? Like, what do you mean by the church? I think if we look at the ministry of Jesus and we look at the ministry of the apostles and we look at even the scriptures themselves and we take an inventory of how often is Paul writing and overtly speaking out against certain sins out of all the verses. Like if we were to take all of Paul's verses, hypothetically speaking, all of Paul's verses, all of Jesus's verses, everything Jesus ever said, everything Paul ever said, everything that's in the book of Acts, what percentage of that, this would actually be a fun study. You should do this, Josh. You should really do this. What percentage of that is them speaking for something? What percentage of that is answering questions? And what percentage of that is them speaking out against something? And I think if we have a look on that realm, there could be a good benchmark. So when I see the scriptures written and the epistles written, I don't see them being driven by the things they're primarily against. When I read when I read the Gospels, when I read the letters, I see a lot of do this, do this, do this. Oh, and by the way, don't do this because this is harmful for you. Do this, do this. I don't see a ton of railing against Caesar, railing against Rome, railing against these things. I see it, but I don't see it as much. And so I think a church, a ministry, a Christian, my opinion, hot take, should primarily be known by the things we're for, and yes, be known by the things we're against. Josh, if I'm honest with you, it sounds like you are inserting some of this social media outrage culture in this need to consistently be pushing back instead of pushing to. You want to always be pushing back, but if you're just pushing back, then you're primarily reactionary. And someone pointed it out, like even my content. Well, what are we pushing to? How do we push people to godly culture? How do we push people to godly living? How do we push people to the kingdom on earth? If we're just speaking out, then we're seldom are speaking to that. So that is what I would say. I don't think that the church's primary role is to give you a talk about how morality is bad every Sunday or every other Sunday. I think the church's role is to tell people to repent and believe in Jesus. This is how you live as a follower of Jesus. Here are some things you shouldn't be doing, sexual immorality, right, so on and so forth. And I think when we figure that out, then I just don't see a ton of like hammering down. I mean, think about it. Like even the question of in the scriptures, there's 6 verses or 6 or 8 verses throughout all of the scriptures. Throughout the entire Bible, there's 6 or 8 verses. Now, there's a verse about sexual immorality, but that's more of a junk drawer term, right? Porneia. That's what it is in the original Greek. Hey, you want to see something kind of crazy? Over 75% of the people that watch this channel are not subscribed. Please consider subscribing and turning your bell notification on so that you don't miss anything we have going here. So there's only like 6 to 8 verses, I think it's 6, throughout all of the Bible. And so it's just bizarre to me when Christians, leaders, pastors, influencers, musicians are being measured by how hard they rail against the scriptures, that the scriptures only rail against, how hard they rail against issues when the scriptures only rail against the said issue 6 to 8 times. I don't know how we reconcile that. So why are churches not speaking out and pushing back? I think many are. 1, 2, I think many are in different ways. And then 3, I don't think they're supposed to be primarily known, because if you're just known about what you're against, then you get into really slippery territory where you become the West Barrel Baptist Church, you know? So do we need to speak out? Yeah, we do. Do we always need to be outraged? Like this week alone, think through this. The Chosen is canceled by some Christians and compared to the equivalent of Target and Bud Light. And that then by proxy also has Daily Wire canceled because Daily Wire CEO pushed back against the Chosen outrage. And they dug up some old tweet of him congratulating a same-sex couple. So now Daily Wire is canceled. Forget What Is a Woman and all the good work that's done. Now Daily Wire is bad because they're not perfect. They're bad. That's we got to be careful. Just because someone's not perfect or someone doesn't give the perfect responses and perfect pushback doesn't mean that they're bad. Doesn't mean that they're not good. Doesn't mean the work they're doing is not good. Hey, did you know that you can watch videos like this on the Spotify app, we now are on Spotify under Ruslan Bless God Podcast. So if you're driving and you want to go back and forth between listening to the podcast and just the audio or watching the video, consider doing it now on the Spotify app as well as all podcast platforms. All right, I'll see you over there. On top of which, and then Chick-fil-A is canceled for promotion they gave 2 years ago. The promotion they gave 2 years ago was someone from within the company that got promoted to the DEI position, which I think those positions aren't helpful. And so now we're canceling Chick-fil-A. We're canceling, we cancel Bud Light, which I don't know, which of you goobers drinks Bud Light? But you're canceling Bud Light, which is fine. Target, which is fine. I don't care, right? I don't have no problem saying, yeah, I'm not going to shop in Target and let them feel the sting of this for a little bit because I think it was what they did was stupid. But now we're canceling The Chosen for a 3-inch pride flag that was in a 4-second frame, 4 seconds of a video. And we're canceling Daily Wire and we're canceling Chick-fil-A. This is all in the same week, minus the Bud Light thing. What have we done lately to be the hands and feet of Jesus? You know? So that's how I would look at it, man. Is I think there's a lot of polarization happening, and polarization often leads to monetization. Oftentimes, the people that are most polarizing, they're using it in some way to monetize their content or their agenda, which I'm not mad at. Like, go get your bag too. But we also have to be privy and sharp as people that often outrage fuels something else that everyone's pulling on you, right? So anyway, those are my thoughts on that.
Our friends at Genucel Skincare have exciting news to celebrate in 2023.
Using Manscaped during my showers after workout has given me much more confidence.
And that's where Mud Water comes in.
True Classic has got your back.
All thanks to the sponsor of today's video, SayMine.com.
Established Titles is your opportunity to earn the title of Laird or Lady. Subject to credit approval, rates range from 7.99% APR to 19.99% APR, included 0.50% auto pay discount.
If you don't want us to make ads with brands you don't care about, sign up for our online community for as little as $5 a month to keep us independent and ultimately answering to you as our boss. You get all sorts of benefits like daily replays of our after party streams, exclusive access to our Discord community, and early access to our podcast interviews, all starting for only $5 a month. Hey, this is a segment from our daily after party stream. Consider partnering with us online for as little as $5 a month to get access to these daily after party streams completely unedited. You'll also get access to our podcast as they are streamed live into the community before anyone else gets to see them, get to interact with our guests, get access to our private Discord server, and a discount code for our store for as little as $5 a month. Ultimately, that will help towards helping us continue contextualizing the gospel using media and podcast here on YouTube. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.